What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tyler. Behind me we have the Sandstorm. Out in the street is parked the Sandworm, but today's install is going to be for the Bronco here. As you know, we installed this rough country bumper and we have these spots right here that are made specifically for lights. Well, conveniently enough, yesterday I got a package in from Suparee. They sent out some of their Helm 7 lights, which are huge. Let me start off by saying that. But before we unbox them and get into it, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's roll the intro. Alright, so in this box is just the harness and the switch that it comes with. Most lights that you order are going to come with a switch that you can use or not use. I have the auxiliary panel that I installed, so we're going to use that. So we're going to use the harness, but we're just going to use the wires from the harness. We're not going to actually use the switch that it comes with. And then now to the good stuff, the actual lights right here. So before I unbox them, these are going to be completely waterproof. Obviously, most lights come waterproof. They're customizable, so you can take the bezel off, you can paint it, you can wrap it, do whatever you want. I'll probably at some point take the bezel off and try to wrap it a similar color to the Bronco. These do come with a 5-year warranty. It's right there on the box. And the cool thing about these are the first lights I've got that actually have this setting. So it has running lights. I've had lights with the running lights before, but these actually have a low beam and a high beam setting. So you can either do the low beam or the high beam, totally up to you. You can hook them up separate, or I might check it out and see if you can just hook them up at the same time and just have them both come on at the same time. So the bottom, there's actually 7 lights, Helm 7. The bottom 3 are going to be your low beam. They're going to be more of a flood. And then the top 4 are going to be your high beam, which are going to be more spot. So let's go ahead and unbox them. I'll show you what they look like. They're huge. And I'll show you what you get in the box. So they sent out this nice Merry Christmas sticker. Super cool. And then they do come with like a wiring diagram. It's actually in that the box with the harness. But let's pull out one of these lights. So you've got your stainless steel hardware. And then of course it comes with the brackets to mount. But this is the light. That's my hand against the light. That's crazy. And I'll show you, I'll put them up against the KC lights, the Gravity Titans, and show you how big they are. But this yellow, they actually come clear, so you can run them like this, or you can put the yellow cover on. And then they actually come with another cover to keep them completely protected. But let me go ahead and show you how big these are compared to the KC lights. So we've got the KC Gravity Titan. These aren't the Gravity Titans, these are the Gravity Pro6, but the Titans are the same size. Look at the size difference. It's hard to tell on camera, but these are so much bigger than the Titans, which is crazy. But anyways, that's why I'm choosing to put these down here. It would be nice to add some ditch lights back to the Sandworm, but honestly, these are gonna be too heavy to put on the brackets that I have on the Sandworm for ditch lights, and they're huge. So we're gonna put them here. So we're gonna mount them up right there, which I think would look pretty sick. Let's go ahead and like set them right there and mock them up real quick. Yeah, I think that looks pretty dope. So let's go ahead and start getting these mounted up, and then we'll wire them. We'll have to figure out, this will be the first time I'm like wiring something through the grill. So there's definitely slots in here. There's definitely slots in the grill, but I want to avoid the shutters and stuff that moves up and down, or the fan or anything. So it might take a minute for me to figure out where to run the wires. All right, so it's a little chilly install today. We've got the heater going, but anyways, I had to run up to Lowe's to get some different stainless steel bolts, because the ones that came with these lights are actually too big to fit into the rough country slot. So I had to go get some slightly smaller ones. So we've got these installed on the rough country bar here, and then I just stripped down the wire, getting it ready to wire everything up, and I was testing everything. So if you guys plan to get these lights, just so you know, black is ground like always, red is going to be your low beam actually, white's going to be your high beam, and then yellow is the daytime running lights. So I think I have some fuse taps. I think I'm going to fuse tap the running lights and maybe have those to where they come on with the car, or tap them into the fog light setting. I don't know, with the fog light switch. I'm gonna see about doing that. So I don't know. We'll see once we get this wired up how I do it. I might just do it to the switch. You know, I have a few, I'm only using 3 out of the 8 switches. Wait, no, I don't have 8 switches. How many switches do I have actually? I have 6 switches. So if I use all 3 switches for the low beam, high beam, and the daytime running light, and then all my aux switches are full, which I don't think I want to do. So I'm gonna figure out how to get those running lights into either the fog light switch or something like that, or I might see if I can get the rough country lights down here into the fog light switch so I can clear up some of those switches. Just FYI, if you guys want to do what I'm planning to do with these rough country pods down here, let me see here. I actually have it zip tied. So you can see it right there. That is the factory fog light plug. So from what I can tell, there are only 2 wires coming out the back of it. So one's probably the ground and one's the positive. So I'm gonna actually take these rough country pods and I'm gonna splice those into this so I can still utilize that fog light switch. And then that will clear up at least 1 switch up there. And then the only 2 switches I'd be using are the ditch lights and then the rear bumper lights, which honestly the rear bumper lights I could put into the reverse lights and utilize that way. I just like having full control. But yeah, and then I'd have at least 1 switch cleared up if I put these into the fog lights. Worst comes to worst, you can always get an aux beam switch panel to, you know, get you more switches or whatever. So I don't think I'll really need any more switches than what I have, but we're at least gonna clear 1 up by putting the rough country fog lights, the rough country pods tied into the fog light switch. We're gonna do that. But at least for today, we're gonna get these wired up to those 3 switches, and then we'll do the rough country pods later. All right, we've got them all mounted up. We've got them wired up, everything's zip tied and hidden. So I actually decided to go through here and through the little shutter. It's not gonna affect it much because I think technically these are kind of closed right now, so they should open up more. So if that becomes an issue, I'll move the wire. It shouldn't, but that way you can't really see the wires unless you're up under here. Actually, even then you can't see it because it goes right behind the light. But now we can peel this off. And now we're going to check them out. I'm gonna go through all the settings, the low beam, high beam, daytime running light. And I'm gonna throw on one of these on one of them, just so you can see that you can use the yellow cover if you want. All right, so I got the yellow cover on one of them and the cover off of the other. Anyways, I'm gonna go through the high beam, low beam. So the low beam is gonna be these 3 plus the side shooters. And then the high beam is gonna be everything, obviously. And then the daytime running light, you'll see those. There'll be these 4 corners. But anyways, once it gets dark out, we'll get the drone up and I'll show you guys how bright these are. We'll compare them to the rough country and the KC lights, and then we'll turn everything on so you can see how crazy bright everything is. But anyways, Yeah, we've got everything installed. Let me hop in the Bronco and let's go through the settings. All right, those are crazy bright. So the low beams are floodlight pattern. The high beams are spotlight pattern. I can see it reflected off the wall. When I turn the high beams on, there's a bright circle. And then when I turn the low beams on, you can see it just like floods the garage. So these are definitely awesome. Yeah, these are super cool. I think if I didn't have this bar, I would have preferred them down here on the bumper. But I think they look pretty awesome. I've seen other people, Jeeps similar, have this kind of setup to where they're up there, and it kind of fits with the round headlights on the Bronco. It fits in there pretty well. So yeah, anyways, when it gets dark, we will get out, show you how bright they are up against some trees and stuff. But I'm gonna show you the cover they give you to actually throw on these to protect them. And there you go, you throw those up on there, your lights are protected, you're good to go. Honestly, me personally, I'd probably just keep the yellow-orange lens on there. That protects them as well. Plus, you can use them if you need them. It's wintertime here, so there's a lot of foggy weather, snow, rain, things like that. So the yellow will come in handy for that. But anyways, once it gets dark, we'll go out and I'll show you how bright they actually are at night. All right guys, so now I have the daytime running lights on. We are going to switch the rough country front pods on. Those are the rough country front pods. This is them with the Gravity Titan lights. And that's the Gravity Titan lights without the rough country pods. This is the low beam Suparee Helm 7. As you see, it's a flood beam. We're gonna turn that off. And then this is the high beam of the Suparee. And as you can see, you've got that spotlight right out of the middle. And then we can turn that off. So we've got the rough country pods. We've got the Gravity KC Pro6 lights. And then we have the low beams. And then we have the high beams of everything. That is everything on except for the headlights. Once I turn the headlights on, that is with the headlights on, you can't even see anything. So those lights are super bright, as you can see, super insane.
Battery level is low. Aircraft will return to the home point in 10 seconds.
Yeah, super insane lighting. Definitely recommend those if you have a spot to put them, because they are big. But the low beam honestly is super bright. It's a flood beam, and then you see you got the spot beam. So I'm actually going to get out and kind of adjust the spot beam, see if I can spread them out a little bit, because that's both of them centered. We're going to do that, and then I got to get my drone in because it's going to die.